Your granddaughter doing? She's good. In fact, my daughter called during the course of the meeting, so I'll have to call her back.
Yes, you will.
How are you feeling?
I'm okay, but I'll probably take off after this meeting.
Please, go home and rest.
Yes, I'll take another pain pill, but I'm glad I was here, and I'm glad I'm here just for election
All right.
board. I'm gonna leave after this.
All right,
I was
good.
watching the time, and I'm like, well, that's good, it's 11 o'clock, close to 11. I don't know what Ed's, or probably some basic things.
I hope, but I just hope you're all right.
I'm good for now.
Okay to drive home?
Yes, because I didn't take anything,
All
so
right.
I will,
Because one of us would be happy to.
yeah, thank you. I appreciate
Follow you or
Yeah.
something.
I'm good,
All right.
I'm good right
Get your police escort or something.
Yeah. Escort myself though. I was gonna kick out, when I was on the police department and we would be like at a friend's house or something, or we played cards and it was, late at night or whatnot. One of the husbands or boyfriends invariably would say, well, come on, I'll walk you to your car, yada, yada. And I would look at them and say, you're walking me to my car, right? I'll if something happens, it's just gonna be an instinct that I'm gonna do what I can to help you. We're gonna be fighting each other, trying to help each other.
I like that. You're gonna help me.
You're gonna help me. But it's just a, common courtesy.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it was Chief Salem on the force when you were on the force?
Yeah,
Did he start as a patrolman,
Yes, he
for lack
did.
of a better term?
yes, he
And worked
did.
his way up.
Yes. Yeah, and even
Alive?
when, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Even at the very beginning, he had that same, that can-do attitude,
Yeah.
positive, let's just get done what we
That's
need to get done, yeah.
Hi, Susan. Good morning, Ed.
How you doing? You guys are just for the record live and on camera right now for the live stream.
She's just all stood over here.
Your best smile, Ed.
Go on. I'll see my car.
Thank you, Susan.
Thanks, Susan.
I just realized, thank you.
Yeah.
Make sure your microphones are on. I have,
Oh,
whoops, you know what? No, they won't turn on. But are you recording on your device?
Yes, but it doesn't always work well.
Do you want
You want us to turn on, Vanessa to turn it on?
You know when I got the last meeting? The only
Whoa,
thing
whoa,
I
whoa.
got was.
Well, we can reactivate this if you
When?
want. You don't know how to do this one here?
That's the one I usually do.
Oh, this one back here. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, sure.
Okay, yes.
Oh, I'll show my ignorance. When you activate that, does that activate the microphones or? It doesn't. All right, let me,
No.
Hey,
It's a good day.
sometimes that's all it takes. Sorry.
Oh, no.
Okay, this
I-
isn't working for some reason.
we'll get one of them to come down.
Yeah. You have to understand, I've worked with men my entire career, so it's always, sorry, Loretta, didn't mean to. No, it's okay.
I guess we'll do
Pretty much
the
how I've got
both for the
four
recorder and the
four
microphone.
granddaughters.
You know what, it's not working anyway, so. I'm gonna turn this off.
Thanks, Vanessa.
Ever had on this
Vanessa's
side.
coming down. It was just working during our commissioners meeting, so she's coming
We
down.
were having
She'll get it done.
All right.
a discussion in my office and I walked in about halfway through and somebody mentioned something. I said, that I can't. And it just blew jaw drop like, how do you
What?
know that?
Oh, I have a female or two in my house, right?
Yeah, just a few. I have that many ladies in my house that we even do with the cats.
Oh, geez.
So
You-
I fought daily to maintain my. You have to, though.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, help her with the,
Can you help her and then also the
No.
microphones?
Yeah.
Please.
It has, I know what's wrong with it.
Yeah, it was, we did all right.
Yes.
By the way, I hope I'm right. I said that the legal ad said that we would meet immediately following.
Yeah.
Okay, that's, okay, good.
No, but when they estimated the time, we were
I'm sorry, it's okay, I'll run and get the other one.
Make sure we have some viewers here, so that live streams live. Looks like we do. Yeah, we got 3.
Okay.
So we're in good shape.
three souls.
What's going on?
Debbie Walker called, she's looking how to get on the live stream.
Yeah, she's texting me right now.
Okay, all
I'm
right.
just gonna call her actually.
I'm going down to IT.
It's up. Hey, if you go, so you're clicking, can you hear me now? All right, so if you click on the link that takes you to the rerun of the one that just happened, and then go down and click like the L, like under the profile, it should show a live feed somewhere on like that screen.
You're welcome.
You got it?
Yep, we're
Yeah.
good.
All right, we're good to,
You ready, Sue?
Yeah, go ahead.
all right, you
Good to
guys.
go.
All right, we will call this May 5th meeting of Lawrence County Board of Elections to order. Susan, please call the roll.
Mr. Boyd,
Here.
Mr. Vogler,
Here.
Mrs. Spielberg.
Here.
All right, I will note that any public comment can be made in the same fashion that it can be made to the Board of Commissioners. To send your statement to mboyd@co.lawrence.pa.us. We'll read it aloud, enter into the record until the conclusion of the COVID-19 crisis. That's the manner in which we'll be conducting public comment for these meetings. But mboyd@co.lawrence.pa.us for public comment. I'll check that now. In the interim, if you guys want to start looking over those minutes. Slow connection. All right, no public comment at this time. We'll open it back up for a second public comment period if anybody has anything at the conclusion of the meeting. But just send them in, mboyd@co.lawrence.pa.us, join the telephone. All right, approval of the March 3rd, 2020 meeting minutes. I'll give my colleagues a minute to look over those before taking a motion. I looked them over, I'll move for approval.
And I'll second.
Hearing a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. All right, I will turn it over to Ed to talk about the personal protection plan and polling place availability. Mr. Allison.
Sir, just starting within the polling place as well as with each one of the poll workers that are going to be available. I have located a manufacturer for a tabletop polyglass shield that we have information for. Just to give you an idea, as far as it's 46 inches wide, 30 some inches high,
It's like the dividers on Jeopardy.
almost.
I couldn't resist it. I had to say it. I am
It's
so
okay.
sorry.
It's all right. Just remember about taybacks, that's all. Plexiglass polling shields are being made for Adams County. They're going to end up being a cost of us of about $100 a piece.
And I'm not laughing now.
Is that covered under the grant we received?
I would assume so, but I don't have a whole lot of direction as far as what's covered under the grant money.
Okay.
So I will delve into that more deeply. Here are the dimension. It is 36 inches high, 46 wide, and it has a 29-inch cutout in the middle so that the pole book could be passed underneath and somewhat to sign.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting.
And there's also a picture there of one
Okay.
sitting on a table, although you have to look closely as far as where it is. It's printed in black and white.
I see it.
Okay.
Yes.
I have a second company who is actually producing face shields. Again, a Pennsylvania manufacturer. This particular company is also located in Pennsylvania. They're doing 50 per case, and they're running at $1.90 per. We need about 300, so you're looking at $500 and some just for the face shields in order to cover for each one of the poll workers.
Okay.
The next one, as far as masks, I don't have a real good supply except for one company that had sent information. This is Vortex, also located in Pennsylvania, down near Pittsburgh. I would assume they're a distributor. They have hand sanitizer in a per gallon, hand sanitizer in a 16.9 ounce bottle, which seems to be the common denominator anymore. Those run $16 a bottle, or about $384 per case. I would anticipate at least sending 2 of those to each polling place.
Okay.
Face mask, a 3-ply face mask, $1.60 a piece, or $80 for 15 a box.
So with the face mask specifically, correct me if I'm wrong, 65% of our precincts will be stocked with these sort of.
Face masks and gloves, yes.
Okay.
This would be just to make sure we fill in everybody across the board with the same materials.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I talked to Director Parrish up at 911.
Yes, sir.
We have a lot of face masks up there. We have a lot of face masks. And he's
Okay.
reserving some for our election workers.
Okay,
So if you want to talk to him before ordering face
I
masks,
can do that.
Yes.
And we have plenty of gloves. They've already brought down, I think, 75 boxes of those. The hand sanitizer, and there's one other company that actually produces a spray for sanitizing around the polling place throughout the day. It comes out of Johnsonburg, Pennsylvania. Croft Chemicals. You don't have to dry it. It air dries. Will sanitize in 60 seconds, and in 10 minutes it disinfects and kills 99.99% of COVID-19 virus on anything,
okay.
according to them.
Okay.
So I apologize that I don't have a price for that particular item, so I'll investigate that one further.
The other thing Ed has, he does have some limited hand sanitizer, that Jeff has. He has some limited hand sanitizer up there. So again, talk to him before
Okay.
ordering anything. The only thing I would say is investigate. We received $81,000 roughly from the Commonwealth relating to election security and COVID-19. Investigate a little bit what that can be used for, because if it can only be used for things like buying masks, at that point we'll just take it out of that. But if it can be used for other things that we might find necessary,
Right.
that we're not getting through public safety, you know,
Yes.
so it's just a matter of what that grant can be used
Right.
for. But
Well, at this particular point also, there is a question from, especially the houses of worship, the Catholic churches, all of them, as well as several of the Methodist churches, are wanting to know if we will sanitize the areas that we use after the election is complete. By sanitize, I've already asked them to give me a better definition of what it is they'd be looking for.
Right.
If all they're doing is looking for us to wipe down tables and chairs and whatever, that's one thing. However, if they want us to go in and, go anything beyond that, I don't know what you wanna do.
I would say absolutely, we would wipe down and make sure everything's
Right.
clean from an internal perspective. But I would say that we just don't have the resources to be able to, have the MAD unit or
Somebody
DiCaprio
come
or
in,
someone come
right.
in
Okay.
and
And
spray
do
down
75 of
yeah,
them.
I just don't think that's feasible.
Well, I'm not getting the request from all 75. It's to be.
But to do
Okay.
one, you gotta do all.
Okay. Yeah, well, okay, that's fine.
Right.
Now, before I get into the other two items, we go to the polling places.
Before we jump into polling places, do we have any precinct workers that have said they're not willing to work because of COVID-19?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
How many?
I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different precincts that I would anticipate consolidating with another precinct in order to make it work.
All right, well,
So that's at least 25.
okay.
Of the letters that we had sent out, I have no response from 25 of those individuals responsible for the buildings we have, and I've yet to hear from 20 different election boards. So we will follow up with them, and we will contact all of them this week to know specifically where we are at.
Okay.
Many of the boards have called in and said, we're ready to go, every position's full. Others are a little iffy. Others have just flat out said, we're not going to take the risk.
Okay, here's the other question I have, because I've received a couple questions on this myself. What are we doing with regards to pens?
That was on the list at this particular point. I would suggest that we purchase enough pens so that we hand them a ballot, we hand them a pen, go vote your ballot, keep your pen, throw it in the garbage can. I don't care what you do with it.
I would agree with that.
Okay.
Dan, would you be amenable?
Yeah, with one follow-up though. Are voters permitted to bring their own pen or pencil in?
No, I want it controlled there so that I have black ink and everything's going to read it afterwards.
Okay,
I can see voters coming in green and red and
understood.
pink and whatever, because that's the only thing that Susan has on her desk.
Right.
Oh, that was not nice.
No, it
Okay.
wasn't.
Well, then to get back to your question, the answer is yes on my part.
And it has to be a pen
Yes,
or the pen?
yes, the graphite's too shiny.
Okay.
Okay. Other questions that I've gotten, just before we jump on to the next section.
Sure.
Are we able to limit capacity? Because at that point, I'm assuming we'll be still in yellow. I'm hopeful we'll be in green, but I'm assuming we'll be in yellow.
Okay.
Are we able to limit the capacity in the precinct, including the polling workers, to 25 people? If that becomes an issue.
I would probably have to guarantee that there would be either a sheriff's deputy or not a sheriff, sheriff's deputy or constable, such that we can lay out lines on the floor as far as the distancing is concerned, right to the door of the facility. And if you're beyond that, then you stay out until it's time for you to walk in.
Okay.
I don't know what else to do in that regard.
We might be able to help you out there with some maintenance staff too, if they have, so just to go around the different precincts and get the tape measure out.
True.
For the markings.
Yeah. That might be, get some electric tape or something that just,
The kits that are supposed to come from the Department of State, at one point I was told that there would be floor marking tape available with the masks and gloves.
Mhm.
That was not one of the communications I got from the fellow election director, although I'll confirm that with the Department of State.
okay.
And if that's the case, then I'll send that out. I'll make that a responsibility of the poll worker. I mean, they can step off 6 feet, a couple of boom, boom, and you're
Mhm.
throw the tape down.
Yeah.
Everybody stays in that regard.
That's probably the easiest way to do it, just have it done localized with polls.
Yeah.
Here's another question.
Yes, sir.
With regard to masks, I've been asked a couple times now, and I believe, and I would be opposed to this, we're not able to require that voters wear a mask in order to vote,
No,
correct?
No.
We can't deprive someone of their
cannot-
voting rights because they're not wearing a mask.
right. There's nothing in state law or the state constitution or federal law that trumps the constitutional right to vote. So you're going to get to vote. We will encourage you to wear a mask. We'll make up some kind of a, sign or, piece of paper with the, please wear a mask on the way in, but I cannot prevent them from doing so.
What if the owner of the building requires a mask in order to enter the building?
That building is ours for the day. We pay $75 rent.
Okay. There we go.
And maybe why they're
That's why
asking
they're also,
if we will sanitize it.
that's why you're also looking at this particular point where they are, the polling place on election day is covered under the county's insurance policies.
All right, thank you.
And last question I would have relating to that, have we received any state guidance on the campaigners that are outside? So for example, are the people outside, is the state issuing guidance to them that they have to be 6 feet apart, the state issuing guidance to those campaigners and us as to what they're allowed to hand out?
No, they have not.
Okay.
So until we hear from the state,
Nothing that I've seen at this particular point in time.
until we hear from the state, then all the old rules still apply.
That's correct.
Nice.
10
Sure.
feet from the door, as long as you do not impede
Progress.
progress to the door, you're fine.
Okay. That's all the questions I have if you want to, unless my colleagues have anything.
I was just curious what the amount of your mail-in ballot applications you've gotten, and just roughly.
I looked at it this morning, between the absentees and the mail-ins, we're at 5,271. Tuesday is light as far as mail is concerned,
Okay.
but we still took well over 150 on the online applications overnight, because we were current yesterday processing the applications. We're probably within a week of the applications and the getting them out the door for the ballot.
And that far exceeds any other absentee.
Yes, by the time we're done, I would anticipate that we'll end up doubling or coming close to tripling anything that we've ever done in a presidential election, at least as long as I've been.
So
And I think
people are
that's
taking
pretty much
advantage of the
Susan's
mail.
recollection.
2004 was horrible. It was horrible. It was close to this.
2004.
That was when we changed over to the Shore system from our old computer system, and Marlene, the former director, was doing 2 systems. So we had extra work. Shore hadn't done the labels so that you were getting them in district order, so we had, it was just,
Okay.
it was Monday through Sunday, nights, days.
But what about the actual number of ballots?
I think we're far above that even now.
Okay,
What's the, I know I asked this over the weekend, but what's the ratio of Republican to Democratic mail-in absentees?
it's about 2-1,
2-1.
Democrat.
All right.
I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
No, of
can't
course
keep
not.
all right, polling place availability.
Well, and at this particular point, I don't believe that any of these buildings are going to tell us that we cannot come. The majority that have not responded to us are fire halls, municipalities, and the housing authority.
The housing authority hasn't responded to us.
No, and then neither has the school district,
Newcastle.
yes. So, those are going to be fairly easy. Yep, we're good to go. We got 2 or 3 calls this morning. North Beaver 1, the judge of election actually lives in Union Township now. She's going to go out, she's going to handle North Beaver 1 anyways. They have 5 people, they're ready to go.
They voted the township bill.
Township building. So I don't believe we're going to have any problems with buildings themselves. It will only be with individuals filling spots.
Okay.
And that being the case, if we can find enough, if I've got 2 that are willing, can you find a couple more to go with them? My staff does not believe that we are going to have the turnout of in-person voting that you normally would, just because between the virus and the individuals who have already filed their applications.
Right.
Because you got to figure of the entire total of registered voters, our turnout right now would be 10%. So given the fact that you throw out the independents and green parties and so forth, you are now well above 10%. So your turnout is already at that level.
Forgive me for interrupting, but I hope maybe this is a good time to reemphasize the fact for folks that might be listening in that this primary, based on state law, is limited to registered Democrats and
Right.
registered Republicans only.
That's
There
correct.
are no ballot questions, if I'm not mistaken. So consequently, on June 2nd, only registered Republicans and registered Democrats are able to vote.
And
That's
they-
based on state law.
That's correct. And they will be the only ones that will be listed in the poll books. The poll books will also have additional watermarks in there for individuals who have requested ballots and requested a ballot and the ballot has been returned. This is a one and done.
Well, and that follow up on Commissioner Spielvogel's question. Have you had people apply for a ballot, a mail-in ballot, who are in fact registered other than a Democrat or a Republican? Has that happened?
Oh, yeah.
And what are you doing?
We notify them that they're, they can't vote in this go around because they're not registered Democrat or Republican.
Okay,
I mean, we notify them. There will still be a number of them that will show up and be jumping up and down at the polling place. And, the poll workers are somewhat used to that.
right. Again, just to reemphasize, that's a
Right.
state law. That's not Morgan's law, Loretta's law, my law, your law. That is a state law that
No.
determines who
Pennsylvania
gets.
still
Yeah.
practices a closed primary.
To that, end, I also think it's important to reiterate that having an in-person election is a state law.
Yes,
That's correct.
yes.
Mhm.
Just touching on that, this isn't us coming in and dictating, hey, we're gonna keep the precincts open.
Right.
Regardless of anything, the state comes to us and mandates.
That's right.
We have to do.
Okay. So far, I have at least one polling place in every municipality. So I'm not,
Right.
again, that changes, or can change daily, hourly, whatever the case may be.
Forgive me again for interrupting. When you say at least one in each municipality, that sounds fine out in some of the townships, but I assume in the city of Newcastle, you have more than one at this time. And in Elwood City Borough, I hope you have more than one.
The Shannick.
And Neshannock and even Shenango, the big ones.
I don't have any information on the board from Newcastle 2-1, 2-4, 3-1, 3-2, 4-1, or 5-1. 5-2 should be okay. I don't have anything from the board in 6-1, 7-1, or 8-1.
Ed, when we consolidate a precinct, what level of advance notice are we required to give the voters?
We're going to have to publish it in the newspaper, and I would take out probably a fairly large display ad. We'll put notices at the polling places so that they know that you need to do this.
But there's no time constraint. We don't have to notify them 30 days before. If one of these guys comes to us 10 days.
I got to check. We're flying by the seat of our pants in this one.
Okay. Because that would be my concern. If someone comes to you
Right.
10 days before an election and says, hey, we're not doing it here, and you got to scramble.
Yes.
Usually if it gets down to that particular point, under 20 days, you have to take it to the court of common pleas in order to get a polling place vote.
Okay.
Well, you and I had the conversation that under normal circumstances, when you relocate a polling place, you're obligated by law to notify each voter in writing.
And we do that with the voter registration cards.
Yes, but in the circumstances in which we find ourselves now,
It's not a permanent change.
okay, so consequently, the requirement of writing to each of them or sending them a written notification is not required.
That's my understanding.
Okay. But to go back to the chairman's point, if you do this, you still have to have some means by which they are notified. And that goes back to your point about the advertisements in, which I would assume would be the Newcastle News and the Elwood City Ledger.
And I would say, like you said, just to reiterate, a posting on the door of what used to be precinct.
Yeah.
Because, people that don't read the news or don't look at the ads when they show up to vote, we want to make make sure they're directed to the right place.
Absolutely.
And then in Elwood, we have, Elwood 1-1, 1-4, 5-1, and 5-2.
That have not responded?
You said 1-4, do you mean 4-1?
4-1, I'm sorry. The Shannon Township, the Shannon Township 1, the Shannon Township 2, that'll depend on travel plans because Mrs. Kikuchi's going on vacation since we filed up her date.
Where's the 2 at?
1 and 2 are both at St. Camillus.
Okay.
So if I get a board, we'll do both of them.
Mhm.
And the Shannon Gate, that's only because she failed to call in. I'm fairly sure that one's covered. So in the Shannon Township, 1 and 2 are the only questions.
And Shenango?
But they generally do get back to you in enough time.
The boards are solid in Shenango. I just gave you confirmation on 2 buildings.
SMPJ is good?
We don't,
Would you ever consider combining them with another location close by?
Who?
SMPJ.
we'll talk about that. Any other questions with regard to the polling place? And so
No.
at this point, I would take Newcastle 5-1 and combine it with 8-1. They're both in the Playhouse Annex. Union 1 and Union 2 to be combined to go to the Fire Hall. Union 1's board is older and will not work. Union 3 and Union 4, Mr. Tulip's group in Union 3 he's probably the only one that's willing to work. So we go down to Union 4, he can help out there.
So Union's gonna be a cluster.
Wilmington 1, the entire board stepped back, so we're going to take it to Wilmington 2. I've already talked with that particular judge, she's good with that. I've also talked to the judge from Union 2, and she's good with hers. The last one will be Pulaski 3, moving it over to Pulaski 1. Just looking at it, Pulaski 3 at the municipal building, those individuals won't work except for one individual, and I'll just send him over to the fire hall.
Could I raise, I'm sorry to do this to you, but let me raise a concern about that. Can you flip that in light of the relatively small amount of parking at that fire hall in the village of Pulaski? There's a lot more parking available at the township building. Can you take 1 and move it to 3? Just from the standpoint of parking.
Good point.
Parking you could, the actual inside of the building's smaller. The fire hall is bigger.
Yeah, I understand that. I realize that. But parking's at a premium at that fire hall. You've been there. And I'm sure you've been there. But in Pulaski 1, there's not a lot of parking there.
And the other thing is, if you have those markings down, you can have a sign at the door, anybody that is not in the building, at the point you reach that electric tank, stay in your
Yeah.
car.
They have to be.
Yeah.
It's a thought, Ed. I'll respect whatever you end up doing, but it's just a concern from that standpoint.
Do you want us to move on the other areas right now?
What areas?
Consolidation of
Combine.
Wilmington and Union?
Yes.
Okay.
And that would include the Newcastle 5-1 going over to 8-1.
Okay. So that's, say those all for me. Newcastle 5-1 to 8-1.
5-1 to 8-1. Union 1 to Union 2. Union 3 to Union 4. Wilmington 1 to Wilmington 2. And then whichever way you want to run Pulaski. Pulaski 1, Pulaski 3 would be combined.
Do we need,
Pulaski 2's out of the New Bedford Church.
can we make a motion to where we can just say we're combining precincts, or do you need specific instructions as to what we're combining into?
The simplest is best.
Okay, so in that case, we're just gonna make a motion to combine precincts. And then you will follow up with the board in
For this.
writing.
In other words, you're asking for a motion to give the director the authority well, he has the authority, but to give approval of the board to exercise that
No, the
authority.
board has the authority.
So we would be delegating that authority to him.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
With, and I think you were just starting to say it, the understanding that you will document those changes so that we have something in writing.
Oh, no problem.
I'd be okay with that.
Okay.
I would as well,
All right.
yes.
In that case, I'll take a motion to consolidate the precincts at Newcastle 5-1 and Newcastle 8-1, Union 1 and Union 2, Union 3 and Union 4, and Wilmington 1 and Wilmington 2. So I'll make that motion.
Pulaski.
Oh, and
And
Pulaski 1 and Pulaski 3.
Right.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
All right, hearing a motion and a second. And again, this motion is to allow for consolidation
Right.
of voting precincts at Newcastle 5-1 and 5-8, Union 1 and
5-1, 8.
5-1 and 8. I had it written in front of me. So 5-1 and 8-1, Union 1 and Union 2, Union 3 and Union 4, Wilmington 1 and Wilmington 2, Pulaski 1 and Pulaski 3. And exactly how those consolidations will be structured will be at the director's discretion, and the director will inform the board in writing and publish any consolidation notices in this case, in all of them, the Newcastle News.
And the Elwood City Ledger?
I was gonna say, I didn't include Elwood just because they're all in the northern.
Yeah, but, well, again, we'll leave it to his.
That's fine, but, and if we have to come back for any more, we can always add the budget.
All right,
Okay.
we have a motion, we have a second. Susan, please call the roll.
Mr. Boyd,
Yes.
Mr. Vogler,
Yes.
Ms. Philbin.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I have two other items left on my agenda sheet.
You may.
At 5,270, I would anticipate we'll be over 7,000 by the time May 26th rolls around, if not closer to 8,000. I would ask the board's consideration for purchase of automatic mail opening equipment. It's running anywhere from $2,000 to about $4,200. It does not slice an envelope, but it chips one end open so that you can slide whatever's in it out. I've not seen them work. I have a video of several in my office, but I, at this point, haven't been able to see those because I believe they're YouTube or whatever, and I don't want to do that. Multiple counties are moving in that direction just because the sheer volume of ballots that are going to be coming back. And I will certainly check to see whether or not that can be covered by any of the grant monies as well.
Let's hold off on that until you have a specific machine in front of us, so you know exactly as to what you want to do.
Okay.
And if we can see if the grant money will cover it. And what we'll do, I think, in the run-up to this election, just because I think this is probably going to get this specific election very complicated, we'll advertise for an election board meeting after every commissioner's meeting up until the election date itself. Does that sound good to both of you? If we need to convene, we can convene. If we don't, we don't, but that way we're covered.
Just leave it open to the call of the chair for the fall. Yeah, okay, yeah, I know, you don't like it.
Yeah, no, I'm okay with what the chairman just suggested, and then if something arises, let's say on a Thursday, we give a 24-hour notice according
Right,
to
we could do
sunshine
that.
law. It's an interesting question maybe for Solicitor Leslie. Does the emergency declaration cover only the work of the commissioners in that capacity, or does the emergency declaration cover our work as the
Right.
Board of Elections
Right.
to allow us to convene emergency meetings when needed? I think maybe we ought to pose that. I agree with what you're proposing
Right.
every Tuesday.
Mhm.
However, getting back to what I don't want to hold you up on getting this equipment. I'd be fine giving him the authority to go ahead and do it.
I'll get the manufacturer pricing, the whole nine yards.
Okay.
I'll put it before the board first.
And we'll do it next week.
The last item I have, I realize we are utilizing everybody and every hour of the day right now to get ballots out the door. We started behind and there was no way to fix that. Courthouse was closed, the staff was off. They've done a remarkable job getting caught up to this particular point. However, we've got to get back to the job of preparing the rest of the election.
Mhm.
Which means getting the bags down here, getting supplies packed, getting ballots packed, getting LNA done on the equipment. That's going to pull people out of the office that right now are all involved in getting ballots out the door. I need some additional help.
What, I mean, these would obviously be temporary, these would be temps, these would be part-time guys.
Yes.
Do you have anybody in mind?
Actually, I'm going to go and talk with a couple of good judges of election who may be currently unemployed because of Liberty Mutual
Mhm.
or off because of the pandemic. One individual has already worked for the county in the treasurer's office and she's worked with us as a rover. This is twice now, I can't remember her name. Beth Kingston, thank you, ma'am. I think she would just jump right in and do just fine. The only problem is, I can only have so many individuals on my staff based on, because I don't want to put the commissioners in a bad spot. There are only so many spots open in the salary board and the resolution to fund my office.
Yes.
So I don't know if I've got to wait to do this until an emergency salary board meeting can be done, or whether or not the emergency powers give you the option to allow us to do that, I don't know.
We would have to go through salary board. How many slots are you looking for? 4? Okay, what's your budget right now for part-time? Do you know?
No, man.
Okay. And I'll note that we are gonna transfer, as soon as we get the appropriate paperwork, $26,000 to the election office. Part of that might be able to be used for funding the temporary guys. All right, draw up a salary board resolution unless my colleagues have any objections. Send it to us and Controller Gettings, and we'll get a salary board meeting on the books as soon as possible. Any objection?
No, we gotta do
We have
whatever,
to do what we
whatever it
have to
takes.
do. Yes, I agree. I agree.
Because I know very well that I can call probably a couple of them would be here tomorrow, then they're not gonna get paid. Mr. Gaines.
Well, there's no harm in talking to them.
Right.
No, I'll have it set up ahead of time.
Right.
Here's an interesting question.
I gotta find somebody who worked for nothing.
Well, you got her last Saturday.
I did, and my wife came Sunday.
Oh, that's awesome.
See?
Here's,
Very nice.
speaking of Sunday, I stopped here briefly Sunday afternoon. I was here for about 20 minutes, from about 5 o'clock till not quite 5:30. This gentleman's car was here, and I'm guessing it was here most of Sunday.
I'm sure it was.
Oh, our
Sure it
election
was.
staff are
Yes.
phenomenal.
I can attest to that, helping out the little bit that I did. It's nonstop. It is a nonstop process that whatever we need to do, we need to do to continue that process.
Here's my question relating to the employee. Instead of calling a salary board meeting, can we just contract with them? Make them contracted employees for a month, say we'll pay them a lump sum?
Get away with that with Gettings, I'm all for it.
That way we don't have to call salary
No
board.
harm in asking if the controller would be
Right,
agreeable to that.
right.
No harm in asking.
Works for me.
Ask that, because then we can just pass it at the commissioners meeting and be done with it, as opposed to having slots open.
You want me to make a contract?
What I would suggest before you do make that contact, maybe consult with our solicitor to see if the emergency
It covers it.
authority that has been granted to us gives us that ability. It might make it a more compelling argument to the controller.
Yes.
And I'm sure Mr. Gettings has the same viewpoint we do. He wants to see this
I
succeed.
know.
Yes.
But we have two contracted individuals who come in for the delivery route and the pickup route. They work with Mr. Kulik, who's on payroll, and we just paid them on election night, one lump sum, each of them. And that's worked out just fine. There's been no issues or concerns whatsoever about that. So I will talk with Mr. Gettings.
By the way, and I'm glad you just mentioned something that triggered something with me. You talked about election night. And traditionally on election night, you get two people from each precinct come to the courthouse, I believe, to drop off the all necessary documents. And then they come upstairs to secure the pay that's given to each of the workers in that precinct. We're going to have to be very careful as far as spacing those people as they stand in line to get their pay.
And the returns should come back just a little bit quicker because they're not going to be doing the absentee ballots at the end of the night.
That's true.
Right.
Let's hope it's not raining that day. It should be warm in early June,
Yes.
but I hope it's not raining because
Let's
that
hope not.
line may have to, well, it's just we're going to be careful how we space people waiting in line.
Unless we're green,
Yeah,
and then we
that's
don't
true.
have to worry.
That's true. It's a good point.
If we go back to red, I'm retiring.
Mhm.
Me
too.
Right now, I'm done.
Strike that from the record.
Hear that, Gov? We want the election to happen, we can't go back.
To be perfectly honest with the board, this is way beyond my pay grade, nothing that I ever envisioned.
Yes.
So quite frankly, I'm flying by the seat of my pants. You've been very gracious and I'm grateful for the input and the support that we've gotten, both in allowing us to work the overtime hours as well as what you've done for us here today as far as giving direction as to what you want done and how you want it done. Again, this is beyond comprehension.
And Ed, if it gives you any comfort, and it may not, but keep in mind, it's happening in all 67 counties. All of your colleagues, all of our colleagues, we're all going through the same thing.
Well, we've already lost 2 election directors over. I pray that there are no others.
Yeah.
If you go, we'll hold your pension.
There you go.
You're not allowed to
We're gonna hold it against you.
leave.
Very much so. Don't you laugh either.
I'm out of here too.
You guys have done an exceptional job considering what you're up against, and our job is to make it as easy as possible for you to function, so we appreciate the work you did.
Anything else?
No, sir, that's it.
All right, any other commissioners' comments?
Just that we'll need to, based on your suggestion, which I agree with, we'll need to do a legal ad noting that the Board of Elections will be meeting every
Right.
Tuesday following the adjournment of the commissioners meeting.
Commissioners meeting.
Do you do those legal ads or does Vanessa do those? I can't recall. Okay, would you be kind enough then to do that, please?
Yeah. I'll check public comments.
Right.
Commissioner Spielvogel, anything?
Nothing. Good here.
We're one of the few offices that is somewhat self-sufficient in those regards. We do our own ads, we do our own resolutions and so forth.
Tom Leslie emailed me. So hi, Tom.
Hi, Tom.
Actually, we'll talk about that later. But I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So I'm assuming Mr. Leslie's email was not a public comment.
No.
Okay, I'll second the motion to adjourn.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Lawrence County Board of Elections is adjourned.
Okay.
Don't forget to turn off your.
There we go.
Please don't leave. Wait for Morgan to